Hey, Jerry Smith's website is linked up right there at coasttocoastam.com. We'll be back with him in a moment. We'll talk about HAARP, chemtrails, those things you see checkerboarded all over the skies. That's next on Coast to Coast AM. And welcome back. Jerry, let's talk first about chemtrails and then HAARP. We'll tie them together. These things are all over the place. They're all over the country. You wake up in the morning, the skies are blue. By the afternoon, they look like tic-tac-toe boards all over the place. What's going on?
Wow, there's a lot of things going on. And, let me say that I do not, I've just gone blank. I'm looking for a word here. I do not debunk chemtrails, but I do debunk a lot of chemtrail theories. There is a popular misconception that, at least I think it's a misconception, and I spend in the book Weather Warfare: The Military's Plan to Draft Mother Nature. I spend 100 pages on this subject, and I break the subject down into contrails and chemtrails, or rather contrails and geoengineering. I believe that I can prove that there have been thousands, tens of thousands of intentional atmospheric releases called variations on aerosol operations since the 1950s. Now, one of the theories, I'm sorry, this is a subject that I am so reluctant to get into because it's so easy to be misunderstood. And
let me ask you this. Let's do it in the simple terms, first of all. Chemtrails, do you believe they exist or not?
Yes.
You do?
Yes. And again, chemtrails is a phrase I really hate to use because chemtrails implies things about it that I don't think are true. Just like the phrase UFO. UFO means an unidentified flying object. But when most people say UFO, they don't mean that. They mean a nuts and bolts spacecraft from another planet, which is a completely different word. And yet they use one as a shorthand for the other. You know, it's rather like back in the 1950s, the word love was substituted for the word sex. So a gentleman can never tell another man that he loves him because that would mean the unthinkable. And so we have this problem with chemtrails, is chemtrails has this presumption that any persistent contrail is a chemtrail. And I don't believe that is true. I believe that is a problem that needs to be addressed. And where I'm at on this thing is that, one, I can show that in the open scientific, academic, and military literature, there is openly discussed thousands of intentional atmospheric release programs, projects, and experiments. This is not a hidden, it's not a secret, it's just you don't read much about it because you don't read, the average guy doesn't read the Journal of Applied Meteorology to read about these things. Now, the other question is, you know, if you go to Wikipedia and look up chemtrail in Wikipedia, it will tell you that chemtrail is a conspiracy theory that persistent contrails persist because there is a secret, sneaky additive that converts them from a contrail to a chemtrail and is part of some worldwide spraying program for some nefarious purpose.
Right, whatever it is.
Right. Now the problem is that I can nail that there is a possibility that all persistent contrails are chemtrails, but the likelihood of it being that way is very slim. And that's because there's some science that most people don't know, and there's some politics that most people don't want to think about. Now, the science on it is we have seen persistent contrails since World War II. They're not brand new. What we have seen is that in 1980, the world of aviation changed. Since 1980, the jet engines have changed, the jet fuel has changed, and the atmosphere itself has changed. And all three of these changes are conducive to persistent contrails. And persistent, and the great lie the government gives us, if you read the Wikipedia article, the Air Force says that chemtrails is an internet hoax. And this is one of the reasons why I don't like to use the phrase, because anybody who believes in a chemtrail believes in an internet hoax, which means you're an idiot. And so I try to stay away from sounding like I'm an idiot. Not that I succeed in it often, mind you.
Go ahead.
My point is that in 1980, somebody developed the high bypass turbofan, which changed the way jet engines worked. Prior to 1980, jet engines were incredibly inefficient. They were one of the least efficient engines on the planet. They operated at less than 20% efficiency, which meant that they spewed out the jet fuel partially burned or unburned. This is called hydrocarbons. If you may remember, in the 1970s, there were large debates about these unburned and partially burned hydrocarbons being spewed out by inefficient jet aircraft and what could be done about it, and this was going to be a huge environmental problem down the road. And then those discussions went away. They went away because those emissions went away, because they changed the jet engine. And by developing the high bypass turbofan, which is this giant fan stuck on the front of a jet engine, which keeps pressure around the combustion chamber, the jet engine went from highly inefficient to highly efficient, and it went from less than 20% efficiency to more than 90% efficiency. And it changed the output, the effluvium, the particle being emitted at the back end of the engine. Prior to 1980, what was being spewed out were these sooty, black, oily, globular things. That was the particle being of the partially burned jet fuel. Now, today, from 1980 on, we have the particle being spewed out of the engine is fully burned. It's a clear or white particle. Now, prior to 1980, one of the reasons why contrails disappeared so quickly is because the black particle would come out, a bit of ice would attach itself to it. You would see the contrail for a few seconds, and then the black particle would heat up from solar energy. It would melt the ice particle, and the contrail would vanish. But today, because it's clear or white, it doesn't heat up. And instead of melting the ice and disappearing, it continues to attach ice to itself. It continues to grow. And because of global warming, the air is warmer, and the warmer the air is, the more moisture it can hold. So there's more moisture to contribute to the persistence of contrails. And the jet fuel itself has changed, and which is why the particle coming out is clearer or white, is because they have reformulated the fuel to be less dirty. And all of these things have given us persistent contrails. Now, the big lie that the government tells us is that these persistent contrails are completely normal and benign, and they're not benign. They are an immense environmental disaster that has to be addressed. And so I spend a lot of time, a lot of pages in the book, addressing the environmental problem of persistent contrails, which, whether or not chemtrails are real, persistent contrails are a major factor in global warming. In fact, the head of meteorology at MIT concluded that virtually all of the warming seen over North America in the last 20 years could be attributed to persistent contrails, because the persistent contrails hold in the heat at night and reflect back solar energy during the day, so they balance out the diurnal, the difference between day and night. And that is having a profound effect on plants and animals. Now, chemtrails. I said chemtrails are real. Now, the possibility is that